Celtic's summer explodes into action with Ross Doohan returning in a surprise keeper move, while Scott Bain is shown the door after 6 quiet years. Brendan Rodgers delivers an emotional post-final message as the treble dream dies at Hampden, and to top it off, a £10 million striker chase crashes with Mathias Kvistgaarden slipping towards Europe's. Drama, exits, and big decisions everywhere. Hit like to keep these videos coming and subscribe so you never miss a single twist in Celtic's wild summer. Hi, Parkhead is stirring once again, and Brendan Rodgers is wasting absolutely no time. Fresh off a domestic double, still licking their wounds from that penalty slip-up against Aberdeen. And boom, here comes the first bit of transfer business, and it is not a headline-grabbing superstar, but a bit of a throwback move. Ross Doohan is on his way back to the green and white. Now, let us get this out of the way. This is not about finding a new number one. With Kasper Schmeichel still roaring in goal like a Danish lion, and Vilhjalmsson pushing him hard, Doohan is not expected to start any Champions League nights under the lights, but do not write the lad off. This is a classic Rodgers move, quiet, calculated, and for the long haul. Doohan's been on a bit of a footballing tour since leaving Celtic the first time. Tranmere Rovers, Forest Green Rovers, and Aberdeen. Solid, if unspectacular. 5 clean sheets in 18 for the Dons last season, but more importantly, he ticks some important boxes: homegrown, club-trained, and crucially, helps the squad hit UEFA's fiddly registration rules without costing a single penny. Graham Shinney even called him brilliant, which, coming from a lad who never gives compliments lightly, is not nothing. But let us not pretend this is some fairy tale return. He barely featured at Aberdeen, with Jeffrey Schlupp possibly sticking around and Greg Taylor maybe on his way out after 6 solid seasons. This Celtic side is very much in transition, and bringing Doohan back feels like the kind of sensible move you make before the bigger, flashier signings land. Someone who knows the walls of Lennoxtown, who will not sulk about minutes, and who can keep the training ground vibes tidy while the main act plays on match days. If Ross Doohan could not nail down a starting spot at Aberdeen, does bringing him back show Celtic are planning smart, or just playing it safe? Let me know what you think. Speaking of goalkeepers, the shuffle continues at Lennoxtown. Scott Bain, the eternal third choice, is officially on his way out after 6 years of loyal service and about as many starts as you would expect from a lad constantly warming the bench. The word is that Celtic have told Bain he is free to leave, even though he still had a year left on his contract. No fee, no fuss, just a handshake, a pat on the back, and probably a quiet goodbye in the car park. The move was done by mutual agreement, which in football terms usually means we love you, mate. But your boots are gathering more dust than trophies. Now, let us give Bain some credit. 78 appearances in all competitions, and he was around for title lifts and cup runs. Never the headline act, but he was dependable when called upon. The problem? That phone stopped ringing once Joe Hart arrived and smashed the door off its hinges. Then came Kasper Schmeichel, now firmly Rodgers' number 1, and Vilhjalmsson, who is not just a young backup anymore. In fact, some folks are whispering that Sinisalo has been just as good as Kasper, if not better. Depending on which pint you are holding, Bain's exit makes room for Ross Doohan's return, which we covered earlier. A sensible bit of business from the club. Doohan comes in as a familiar, low-cost, low-drama figure who knows the club inside out and will not throw a tantrum if he does not see much action. Meanwhile, Bain gets to find a new home and maybe enjoy playing every other weekend again. Instead of being a human cone in training drills, it is the end of a mini era, the kind where you almost forget the player is still around until they pop up in a cup game against Queen's Park. But fair play to him, he kept his head down, never kicked up a fuss, and always looked like he cared, even when he was nowhere near the pitch. So here is the spicy one for the comments section. Did Scott Bain waste the prime years of his career sitting on the bench at Celtic? Or was he living every Scottish lad's dream by staying at a top club, even as third choice? You decide. Here we go. Just when the Celtic faithful were starting to get excited about a proper number 9 coming through the door, it looks like the Mathias Kvistgaarden saga might be heading for the dustbin of missed opportunities. The Danish striker, who has been on the club's radar longer than most folk keep their New Year's resolutions, appears to be packing his bags for one of Europe's so-called top 5 leagues. That is despite the lure of Champions League football at Parkhead, and let us be honest, the chance to play in front of the most electric support in football. But no, according to his own manager, Benjamin Schmeeds, Kvistgaarden is already being eyed by clubs with fatter wallets and shinier TV deals. Look, the numbers do not lie. 23 goals and 7 assists in 38 games this season. Player of the Year, Typhos in the away end, farewell waves at full time. You do not need to be Sherlock Holmes to figure out that his Bromby days are done. And here is the sting. Celtic were apparently closest to sealing the deal in January, just after Kyogo jetted off to Rennes, instead of replacing like for like. Brendan Rodgers had to reshuffle the front line, like he was playing fantasy football in real life. Jota came in, Maida went central, and the big-name striker never arrived. Now, after Saturday's Scottish Cup final slip, the urgency has only grown. But it looks like Kvistgaarden is out of reach. The fee, Bromby have been firm. Over £10 million or no deal. That is Champions League level money, and yet still Celtic are being pipped to the post. Frustrating, absolutely. But this is what happens when you wait too long. The player himself basically spelled it out, saying he is ready to move on and the Superliga is no longer where he sees his future. And frankly, who can blame him? Now, all eyes turn to Brendan Rodgers. The board say they will back him. The fans are demanding it. Should Celtic be spending over £10 million on a striker like Kvistgaarden? Or is the board right to hold back until the Champions League qualification is secured? Let the debate begin. Inside the Hampton dressing room, the mood was heavy. But Brendan Rodgers' message was pure class, no finger-pointing, no fury, just pride and perspective. After missing out on a domestic treble in the most agonizing way possible, the Celtic boss looked his players in the eye and told them what really mattered, that they were a team, that they were still champions, that the journey was not over, it was only just beginning. He asked them to stick together for one more night, not to scatter into the summer with regret or frustration, but to share that final evening as a unit. Because some faces in that room will not return in July, transfers will come, contracts will end, and the squad that conquered Scotland twice this season will not look the same next time. They lace up their boots. It speaks volumes about Rodgers' leadership. A man who knows the real game is not just played on the pitch, it is in the moments after a loss when heads drop and doubts creep in. That is when belief needs to be reinforced, not broken. He reminded them of the success, the league title, the League Cup, the dominance across the majority of the campaign. One tough afternoon does not erase a season of hard work and silverware. And while the final whistle at Hampton marked the end of one chapter, Rodgers already has his eyes on the next. The summer will be busy, players in, players out. But the objective remains crystal clear: win trophies and make noise in Europe. The Champions League is calling, and this time, the manager wants a squad built not just to qualify, but to compete. So now the group rests, reflects, and soon rebuilds. Because under Rodgers, Celtic does not wallow, they reload. Was Brendan Rodgers right to focus on unity and reflection after the cup final loss? Or should he have been demanding more from his players after such a massive missed opportunity? If you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe so you never miss a beat from Celtic's wild ride. And do not forget to check out yesterday's video. It is absolutely explosive and you will want to see every second of it.